Hello friends, today I want to show you how you can easily add, edit or delete users from the front end in WordPress. So that said, let's do it. Now, first things first, before we get to do anything, there are a few things that we need at least to have in place, or rather the tools that we will be using to achieve whatever we want to achieve. The first one is JetEngine. This is the backbone of what we want to do here today. Number two is JetFormBuilder, and JetFormBuilder is what we're gonna use for our front end entries. Number three is a page builder. In my case here, I will be using Elementor. You are free to use any page builder of your choice, but you need to make sure that whatever page builder you choose to use is compatible, or rather JetEngine is compatible with that page builder, or JetEngine has features that work with that page builder. As far as I know, Gutenberg and Bricks are well compatible with JetEngine. We also need a code snippet, because somewhere along our work or whatever we're gonna do today, we will need to utilize some custom code to get some things done, and to be precise is to assign user roles to the users that we will be adding today. An alternative is to add the code into your functions.php file. Lastly, we also need a way to actually add extra user role or capabilities that do not come with WordPress or are not default in WordPress. And in this case, we're gonna use a user role plugin. I'm pretty sure most of the membership plugins out there offer this functionality, but if you are not building a membership site, then you don't need that, because it's an overkill for doing just a little bit of this stuff. So in my case, I'm using user role editor plugin. It's available in the plugins repository as well. So that said, let's get into it. Now, the first thing that we want to do here is build our form that the user will be using to create or add new members. I already have a form set up here, and what I'm basically going to do is take you through everything step by step so that you understand what's going on and why I did what I had to do. So the first field that I have here, if you want to add a field, if you are completely new to JetFormBuilder, you simply hit the plus at the top there, then just search for whatever field you want to add, and you could go ahead and add any of the fields from that area. So for me, we already have this stuff here. So the first one is a media field, and this is an optional field for the user just to add the display picture. And there is one thing that you should pay attention to, and that is on the right hand side here. So you want to make sure that you enable the user access here, whichever fits your scenario. So for me, it's any registered user. Then make sure you toggle the insert attachment button, because if you don't do that, this form will not be submitted and it will keep throwing errors. The next thing you want to do is to decide the field value. Attachment ID is completely fine for what we're trying to do here. Then you also need to decide the maximum allowed files to be uploaded. It's simply 1 because this is a profile picture. Then what's the maximum size in megabytes? I'm also giving them just 1. That should be enough. Then the meme types down here, you should also define. For me, it's PNG and JPEG. And that's pretty much it for this first field. So make sure you have all this checked when you deal with any media field for that matter. Next, it's an email field here. And what you want to do is just to scroll down here and make sure that the field type is email. And that's it with that. You could go crazy with any of the stuff here. That's completely up to you. For my case, that's all I need for that field. Then this is the username. So this is what they will use as their username, that which will be added as their username in the database. And it's just a text field. And the next part is, or rather the next field here is the first name and last name. So basically what we want to make sure is that they all have unique field names here, and they are all text when it comes to field type. Now the other field is the phone. So the difference here with the phone field is that scrolling down to the field type, I'm just selecting telephone. That's it. Then we have the user role, and this is where our custom code will be coming in, and I'm gonna show you that in just a moment. Now for this, it's a select field, and you have different options at your disposal. You could either use manual input, or any other of the options that we have down here. Generate dynamically if you want to leverage JetEngine query builder, but for our case here, I'm going to use glossary, and I will also tell you why in later on in this video. And for glossary, for those maybe who do not know, is when you go to JetEngine, when you go to JetEngine, open JetEngine, then you will see glossaries down here. Basically what you want to do is to add a glossary, and you always have two options when it comes to data source. So you could either set items manually. This is if you just have a handful of the items you want to include in your list, and if you have hundreds of items you want to include in your list, then you will have to use the get items from uploaded file, and that you will have to upload I think it is a CSV file. Then it will pull all the details from your uploaded file. So here there are a few things that I want you to pay close attention to, and number one is the field value and the field label. So the field label, this is what the user will see when they hit on that select or the drop down button. And the field value, this is what is stored in the database. Now it's important for you to understand that whatever you put here should be exactly the same thing that you have in your user role editor, your user role editor plugin. So I will just quickly show you what I have and give you the differences so that you understand what's important. So the value, it's the ID, it's the role ID, and in this case it's sorry, it's whatever we have in brackets, so that it's the ID, and that's what it's stored in the database, and that's what you want to make sure that it's exactly as what you have. So if you add a role, the role ID that you will input here, it's exactly the same thing that you need to have a glossary. Let me just go back to the glossary. It's the exact thing that you need to have here as the field value. So add your roles as many as you want, or based on what you want to do, and save this, then you will have it available when you decide to use glossaries for your select field in JetFormBuilder. Now notice that I have not included fields for passwords. It's because we are creating users on behalf of other people, and it's not a good practice to create passwords for them because it just feels off, right? Yes, it does feels off. So I will just show you how we're gonna go about that in a moment. Now we have all the fields that we need set up for our form. You know, the fields that you want to use, it's all up to you. You know, the setup of your form, it's entirely up to you based on whatever you want to do. So the next thing that we want to do is now to set our post submit action. So what do we want to do when this form is submitted? And the first thing that we want to do here is to register the user. So in your case, you will not have this as I have already. So what you want to do is just to click on new action. Then in the options that you have here, look around for register user action. Then that's what you want to select. And for me, because I already have it here, I will just show you my setup. So there are some of the most important things that you need to pay close attention to. And number one is to make sure that you toggle these allow creating new users by existing users on. Then select exactly the user that you want to give this ability to create users. So you will just select from the user roles that you have. In my case, it's the administrator, obviously. So anybody else who does not have the role of an administrator will not be able to add a user. Then the next thing is to make sure that you map the fields correctly based on what you have in your forms. So user login, it's the username in my field. Email is email. So password, remember I told you that I did not add that, and in this case we'll have to use secure unique token. This will be emailed to the user that we create with a randomly generated password that they will use to log in for the first time, and it's up to them to decide whether they will want to change that or not. But also you will have to make sure you provide them means to edit their passwords in whatever you're building. Then the first name, it's the first name, and the last name, it's the last name from the field, the fields that I have. Then the user role here, you leave it blank. Why? Because we have defined user roles using our select field that we will need the user that will be creating other users to select from the drop down. So if we go ahead and, you know, select a user role from this part here, then it will defeat the purpose of having the other option in our form. So that said, user meta, so these are additionals that, you know, we have in our form. For instance, we have display picture, and we also have phone number somewhere that are not default in the native JetFormBuilder settings for, you know, the field mapping for registering a user. So we will have to add them here. And what are we exactly adding them here? These are the meta fields that we have in our user accounts actually, and I think I will just have to show you something that maybe I skipped, which it's important, but it's also optional, because if you have to add extra user meta fields, then you will need to also use JetEngine for that. I will just show you very fast about that. So to add extra meta fields, go to JetEngine, meta boxes, then give your meta box a title. And because this is extra meta fields for users, it's from the drop down here, meta box 4, you select users, then scroll down here and add the meta fields that you want to include for your users. So in my case here, there are just two: profile picture and phone number. So now the name IDs here, profile picture, this is exactly what I'm mapping to the form here. So the first one is the profile picture, then the second one is the phone number, which I will also grab from the custom meta field here, the name ID, phone number, and map it to this field, phone number. So every time a user is created or added, whatever it's put in these fields will be mapped to that user meta field that we've just created. So that part is done. So make sure to update so that you don't lose the stuff that you put there. Then the next thing that you do is to new action, then select send email, just as I have here. And the email that now we are creating here is one that will be sent to the newly created user with the instructions of what they are gonna do next. And this is where now we add in the verification tokens that will carry their temporary password. I hope that's clear. So craft your email as you please, as you wish, but just make sure to include the temporary password using this macro here, which is JFD underscore verification underscore tokens. And that is actually found when you hit on this range icon. You will see all the macros that you have for the field that you created for your form, and included here is the verification token macro that will be responsible for adding the unique password for the new created user. So this is what they will use to log in into your system for the first time, and they will have an opportunity to alter or change that password later on. I skipped that part, but from the top here, the mail to, you want to select email from the submitted form, because the email that you will use should belong to the user that you will be adding. Then from which field, select the exact field that the email will be input on that form, which is email, and subject, and this other stuff is entirely up to you to decide on how you will make those settings. So that part is also done, and don't forget to hit update. Then now the next part, which is equally important, is now the hook. So new action, then scroll and find call hook. It's call hook, not call webhook. Please, you wanna go read the documentation to find the difference between these two. So we are using call hook, not webhook. Perfect. Now this is where we wanna call the hook that will help us to assign the roles that we've just defined to our users. So this is the name of the hook, which is register new staff member. I'm gonna show you how the hook looks like, and I will also provide the code down below in the description for you to grab. Go make any tweaks or change whatever you wanna change so that it fits your unique use case. So here is the hook that I'm using to assign role to the new staff member, and it's simply straightforward. It's very simple. It's only around 24 lines of code, and what this hook does is it extracts the user ID, and the staff role from the submitted form data. Then it validates the role. So validation is it validates the role from the roles that we added, the custom roles that we added, and the roles that we have in our select or the drop down option on our form, which in my case it's credit officer, credit administrator, manager, and collection officer. And make sure that the way you write them here in this code, it's exactly how they appear everywhere else. and most importantly in your role editor plugin, because any mistake you make here and you're gonna have problems trying to get this thing to work. Awesome. So this is the code that does the job for us, and this is the hook name that we call register new staff member, and that's pretty much it. Now that's it with our form. So update, make sure to save the form, and now the next thing that we want to do is to go and put this form wherever we want to put it, and that is in a template, and make it available for the user to use to add in new members. So let's go ahead and do just that. Awesome. So I already have mine here, but as usual, I'm going to take you through what I did. So this is my template, and I have it set up as you can see. You are free to create yours or design the way you want to do. Now you come here to the widgets and just search for form. Then you want to grab this form, this one here, this, and drop it into your template, into your container, whatever section you want to place the form. Then choose the form. You will have to choose the form that we created. Remember this form here. This is the form that we want to choose, create staff member. So that's what we pick from the drop down of our forms. I have a bunch of them here, don't worry about that. Then once you have your form, you could go ahead and style it as you please using the styling options that you've been provided for here. And that should be it. That should be it. Save your template, and now let us move next to let us move to the next step, where we want to make sure that this works as we intend it to work, and that is now into the JetEngine profile builder. Okay, great. So here it's the profile builder. So if you do not know how to get to this, there are a few things that you want to do. Maybe I should just show those who might want to know how to do this. So you go to JetEngine, go to first you go to JetEngine, because you need to make sure that this is toggled on so that it's available, and in the modules here, make sure you have this profile builder toggled on so that it will be available for you in the options here. Then I don't think I'm gonna get into much details of how to set up the things here. Maybe you should just read about profile builder in the CrocoBlock website knowledge base. I will provide the link in the description down below for those who are completely new to this stuff. So we have two things here. We have the account page, that is what is available to the administrator, and we have the user page. Now for you to have this user page here, you must have actually enabled it. You must have enabled it here in the single user page under the pages option. You must have turned this on here so that we have that, and all these settings are unique to your needs or whatever you're trying to do with your thing. So make sure you customize them based on whatever you are trying to do. What we want to do here in the user profile, in the profile builder, is to add a sub page that the user will use to actually do the adding of new users or the administrator or whatever it is. So what you do is to click on add new sub page, and this is under the account page. account page. I will be taking you through the user page later on when we'll be handling the deletion of the user. But for now, the adding users, we're gonna use the account page. So add a new sub page. Then what you want to do is to give it a title and give it a slug. So this is what will be used in the URL, just as it's been described here. This is not necessarily, or rather this it's not a must this to be exactly what you have here. You could have here add staff member as the title and have completely different thing here as the slug. It's all up to you. Then what you want to do in the templates here is to now search for the template that you created. Remember this template we created here? Yep. So that is what you want to search in the profile builder here in the templates. So you just hit there, then start typing, and you will have all your templates as a drop down list. So just pick the relevant template that you want to be rendered when this is selected. So that's it with this. So it's the admin register new staff member as our template, and don't forget to hit on save. So that is done. And let me just now show you this thing for how it is in the front end. But remember, in your use case, you might want to actually use, I will show you that from here. You might want to use what we call the menu for the profile menu. This profile menu is what comes with JetEngine Profile Builder, and it houses all this stuff here. Maybe something that I just skipped, which is most important for you, is also to define the roles of those who should be able to see this thing, and that is very important if you are going to rely on using this profile menu that comes with JetEngine Profile Builder. In my case, I'm completely not using that because of my own reasons. Actually, I just wanted to have flexibility with my menu here, as you can see. So I'm not using that. I'm using something completely different. Actually, this is off canvas widget for Elementor, and this is just the lists for Elementor, and this side menu or side header here is a custom stuff that I just built with custom code. So this is completely different, and if maybe you might want this, you will just let me know and I will take you through that. Okay, so let us just go back to what we are doing here. Back to profile builder. So make sure you decide whether you want to show this. If you want to show it on the menu, you just leave this unchecked, then decide the roles of the people that you want to see this thing, and that's pretty much it with that. So in the front end, let me just show you how that works now. So it's here, add a new staff member, and this is now our form, and I think we should go ahead and add a staff member, right? So that you guys can see how this thing works. There we go. So staff registration process successfully initiated. Please remind them to check their email to complete the registration. Now we're gonna check the email right now to see what we got there. But if I go back to the list of my staff members, I should actually see this newly created staff here. There we have her. So there we go. Now let us just check the email to see if everything works as expected. So it's not yet here. Let us just refresh and see. I hope. Okay, awesome. There we go. We have it here. So you have been successfully registered as credit officer at Fitzcall Limited. And here is the message. So the login page is here. Then test user, and we have the temporary password here, and all these other stuff are custom, so they can go to their setting page and change this stuff. So I think we should try to log in. Yep, let us do it. Let us do it. Let us do it. Let us try to log in. So test user, let me just grab that. It's important to get that. So it's test user 5, and the password is that. So login. There we go. So that has been a successful one. So this is a credit officer, and this is their dashboard. So this is what they see as a credit officer. This is what they see as a credit officer. So we successfully added this user, and they could go to the settings here to actually change their password. Yeah, they can now just change their password from here, and the display name, it's here. It's just exactly as what we created from the other side, and you can also see their profile picture or the display picture. It's exactly what we just created from this other end, So that's done with how to add the user from the front end. The next thing now is, how do we edit this user? So for instance, we can edit this user from here, just like that. So for instance, let me change her from being the credit officer, the role from being the credit officer, to something else, like what exactly? Credit manager. Yep, credit manager. Then what else should I change? Let me change her display name so that she's just McDowell instead of Jane. And so let us see what happens when we hit on update staff member. So update staff member, there we go. So then the display name changed here to McDowell, and also their role now is credit manager and not credit officer. So let me refresh this so that you can actually see what we did. Yeah, so we've successfully edited this user. So you can see the display name here, it's McDowell. We've just changed it from Jane McDowell, and she is now a credit manager and not a credit officer. Awesome. Perfect. Now that now calls us to see how this works. So let me take you through the process of creating this here, so that it's possible for you to edit the user from the front end. And what do we need? We need a form. Okay, so we need a form that we're gonna use to edit the staff member. I already have it here with me, and as usual, I'm going to take you through everything that I did step by step so that you understand. And the most important thing with this form here is the presets settings. The preset settings. This is the most important thing with the presets settings. Okay, but we also have one critical thing here that you should pay attention to, and that is the hidden field here, which is the user ID. And what are we using? We are using URL query variable, and our URL query variable is queried user ID. Why? It's because we are editing another user. So we could decide to use, or rather, if this was a form, like for instance, that we put here in the user account, okay, like for instance, the form that we have here for the user that they use to directly edit their account, the option that you use here for the user ID, it's actually current user ID. Now, if you make the mistake of using current user ID when creating a form that you want somebody else to use to edit another person, then the problem that you will get is, for instance, if you are the site administrator, then you make that mistake of using current user ID here, then you just go ahead and change the role here, you know, from and maybe make something like credit manager or something like that. Then you'll be locked out as the as the site administrator. So we are using queried user ID because when we just go back to our front end here, then we go to staff, okay, the staff members, we are viewing other users. So this is not us, this is them, the users that we have on our platform. So when you hit on edit, this is a queried user. So we are using queried user ID. So this is the user that have been queried. So we are using their ID. I hope that is clear. Now that's why we use that here. Okay, I hope that is clear as I have tried to explain. So that is the most important and critical part that you should get right. Then everything else here is as is from the other form, which is the form that we are using to create or add the new user. The only difference that we do with this form now is that when it comes to when it comes to update user, okay, so what you do here is go to new action, and now this time around we are not registering the user but updating the user. Okay, so that's what you pick, update user. Then the settings of updating the user, this is the most important part that you should pay attention to. So what's the user ID? It's the user ID. So we'll update this user. I hope that's clear. Then display picture, this is a meta field, so you will have to select from the drop down list the meta user, then go to your if you still have it open, for me I closed it, but you should open your user page, then grab the field, the meta field key. Okay, paste it there. I think I should just show you this, right? Just give me a second. Okay, so there are two ways of doing this. So where exactly do you grab this from? Now, number one, you could go to your meta box that you created for the user and just grab the field ID from there. Okay, so that's the first way you could do it. Or the other way, you could just open up the user and grab them from here by just copying like that. So you want to get this as the preset, or rather not the preset but the field to update if they decide to change anything. Maybe they want to change their phone number or their profile picture. So that's what you do. That's what you do with this form. So it's the user meta, and what's the display picture? This is the field key. Then email is email, display name is the display name from the drop down here. First name is first name, last name is last name. Then phone number here, it's user meta, and we grab the phone number ID, or meta key. Then the staff role, do not touch that, leave it as is. And yeah, that one you leave it as is because we will use our code. Remember our code? Yes, our hook. That's what we will use for this part, for this part. Then also don't touch this, leave it as is, because if you decide to choose a role from here, then it will defeat the purpose of having our user role from that drop down list that we have on our form. So leave everything as is. Don't forget to update. And our call, or I mean our hook, it's the same hook that we used in our previous form, because it performs exactly the same thing, assigning the role to the user. Nothing changes. So we'll just put it as is here as well. And that's pretty it. Now, why am I having save form record here? This is for debugging, troubleshooting. It doesn't have any other value here. So I just added this here. I think I ran into some little minor issues a few times, a few days ago. So I added this here to help me to just catch where the problem was. But you don't need to have this here. You can actually let me just take it off. Yeah. So we only need this and that. We need to update the user, and we need to call the hook. So that's it. And now the last important thing here is preset settings. Make sure it's enabled. Then source, it's user. Okay, user. Then get user ID from. This is the most important thing that you should pay attention to. It's queried user, not current user, not URL query variable, but queried user. And that's exactly what we are doing at the top here. I hope that's clear. Then display picture, it's the meta field, and we grab again the key or the ID from either the meta box here or directly from the user profile from the back end. So you grab the profile picture name here or ID, then that's what you put here. And that is also similar to the phone number down here. But let us just go through this other stuff. Email is email. Login, it's the display name. That is the login, and this should be as your settings are. Okay, should be as your settings are. And also it just goes with the field name. It goes with the field name. So the presets is what this form comes with preloaded when somebody wants to edit the user from the front end. I hope that's understood. So the phone number, it's the user meta, because this is a custom meta that we just added. So go grab the meta ID and drop it there. Staff role, leave it as is, because we do not have an option here to preset or to preload the user role. Okay, that is something that it's not here, and that's why we are using the hook to get this done for us. It's a little bit redundant because when the user is being edited here, this doesn't come preloaded, and that's why for me I have included clear instructions here so that they know they must either select the same role that are here, or if they wish to change it, they could go ahead and just do it. For instance, if they want to change this user from being a credit manager to something else, maybe like credit officer, administrator, or whatever, they could go ahead and do it here. And if they do not, they want to maintain, they must make sure they maintain by selecting the same thing, credit manager, and going ahead and making other alterations in the fields as they need to. Okay, so I hope that is understood when it comes to the presets. And don't forget to save your form, right? Yeah, so save your form. And now the next thing that you will have to do is to create again a template that will house this form. And now this time around, it's a little bit different from what we did earlier on, because now we are editing the user. We are not adding the user, and that means we need to have access to user a user profile. What do we call it? Yep, a user page. So in our profile builder here, remember I told you from the pages settings, make sure you have single user page, because this single user page, it's what will render the user for you here to edit. I hope that's understood. Awesome. Yep. So from here, you will come down here to user page, then go to add new sub page, and then get the template. So let us just go back to a step that I almost skipped, which is equally important: creating the template that needs to house, or rather to keep the form that you will use to edit the user, or rather the user will use to edit the user, whoever will be using your system, whether it's you or somebody else. Let me just see what I called it, staff profile. So that's what I called it. So let me just try to find that from my templates. I have so many of these things here. So staff. Yep, let me just open this up and I will see you once it's ready. Awesome. So this is it. The steps are similar with what we did initially. So you go to the widgets area here, search for form, then grab the form, drop it into your container. Then you use the stylings that we have here to style your form as you please. And that it's pretty much it. Now I'm not going to get into these other things that you see here because they are completely different stuff. You know, these are dynamic fields, and I'm not actually into walking you through this dynamic fields thing right now. It will make this video to be unnecessarily long. That's not what I want to do. So this is the form, and that's pretty much it. Style the page, the template as you please. And now let me show you how this works from the other side. Now when you go back to profile builder here, once you've created your template and saved it, as I said, go to user page, hit on add new sub page. Then what you want to do here is to give it a title. Okay, then the slug, as I said, this could be different from what you have here. It doesn't matter. Just make sure that it's lowercase and no spaces. If you must, either use an underscore or a hyphen, those. Then here in the template part, hit on that search box, just start typing the name of the template that you created here. In our case, it's staff profile. Then that's exactly what you want to add here. Then decide whether you want to show it or hide it from the menu, and I will advise you to hide this from the menu because it doesn't make sense to have something around here like edit. So what will you be editing? It should have a different action that, you know, works with it, like what I have here in this data table, this here. Now if you want me to create another guide on how to come up with something like this data table, just let me know in the comment section down below. So I will show you exactly how to add these things here, how to mask this stuff like that, and all these things that you can actually see here. So you will create a dedicated button to edit a user from this area or wherever it is, just like that, so that it goes to this here. The URLs, as I said, it's if you are not having a custom menu as I do here, you will actually be using the profile menu that comes with JetEngine. So for instance, if I just grab this, let me show you. if I grab this and drop it, let me just drop it anywhere because I will delete it anyway. You can see, I will say this should be vertical. So you will see I have all this stuff here. Then context, what is the context? It's either the account or the single user page. Now, how do you use these things? I don't know whether I should tell you right here, because, or maybe that will be an overkill for this video. I'm really not sure, but let me just tell you a little bit very fast. When you come back here to profile builder, you will realize that we have two things. We have account and we have user page. So we have the single user page, and we have, now if you are having something like you are building maybe a directory that you want people to list their businesses and have, you know, a chance to make edits and all that, you will definitely have to use two different things. Now, if this, for instance, if this template was available for the user, then the context will be single user page, and account, this maybe if it's for the administrator, then you will have to use the account. But this is purely how you actually configure your stuff here, because when you, if you are keen enough to notice, is you actually have the options here to decide who this is available for. Now you could use account for everybody, but just limit who has to see what when by using the roles here. So you decide if you want, you know, only the administrator to see something like add staff member. So you will just have to select only those people with specific roles that you want to have access to this particular functionality. It's entirely up to you. So how do you get the, you know, the URLs? You could just, you know, get it from this end here by using the profile menu that comes with JetEngine Profile Builder. So I think that is perfect. And actually you could decide by just selecting the roles here by show menu for the role, then so you can have different menus and just control them with the roles here. So you can decide, let me have this menu shown to the administrator, then have another one, let it be shown to, you know, credit officer or whatever your roles are, and that's it. So this is done. I hope it's clear. Now the next thing that you want to look at, I think I already showed you how that works. So we already used the form before I showed you how to create the form, so to edit the user. Now the final thing that now we want to do is, how do we delete this guys? So for instance, I have fired Jen and I want to delete her from my system because she's no longer useful. So how do I do it from the front end? From the back end, it's pretty straightforward, but what about from the front end? So let's see how to do it. Okay, so remember I said you should okay, we have already done the parts for the code snippets. Now we have just a few things that we need to do here, and the first one is so where do we actually, okay, let us begin with the code that helps us to delete a user from the front end. So here is the code. Here is the code. I'm just showing it to you from this place, but please do not put this code inside a code snippet, because it won't work and it will actually lock you out of your website as the administrator, and you will have to go through some steps for you to gain access back to your administrative privileges. So do not add this to code snippet. This is for illustration purposes only. What you actually want to do is as follows. So create a file, name it as you want to, and call it whatever you want to call it. For me, it's called delete user. So this is how it's done actually. Let me just show you practically so that nobody gets confused. So this is my cpanel, and this is the code as it is. So notice that I have the PHP tags opening and closing down here. PHP tags, it's very important for you to have those for this thing to work, because this is a PHP file that we are creating. So name it whatever you want to name it, whether it's delete user dot, the extension should be .php. So you can name it whether it's delete.php, delete user, but I think the appropriate to use is delete user.php. You also understand that the file should not have spaces. You either use underscore or hyphen, but not spaces. Then you will have to add these in your in your root folder. So you'll have to use either there are different ways to do this. There are different ways to do this thing. So one is let me show you mine. It's here. Where is it? Okay. It's here, delete user.php. So this is the root folder of my stuff, my development environment. So you will have to either add it using a plugin like this, file manager plugin. You should get one that works, so you can just add it right from here, or you go and add it through your cpanel if you have access to cpanel. If you do not have access to cpanel, add this file to your root folder using FTP. So those are the means that you should use to get this done. So this is the code. Let us go back to our code here. So basically what this does, it proceeds, to check the permissions, whether you have the permission to delete the user. That's most important part. Then it gets the user ID provided. Then it prevents you from deleting administrators, so that you do not cause chaos. Yeah, deleting the administrator is very dangerous, because it will lock you out of the website, and there is a lot of things that could go wrong, but there are workarounds to gain the access. If you want me to show you how to do that, let me know. You do it from the PHP my admin, and that is directly from the database. Then it goes ahead to assign posts to the administrator. So if the user that you are deleting has posts, these user posts will be assigned to the administrator. You can decide who to assign the posts to here. It's not cast on stone, so you can decide if it's somebody else. So you can just change that from within here. Then it goes ahead to remove the user, and that's what it does. So I want to show you how now we are going to use this code to get our work done. And make sure you add the code to your root folder. You guys know what the root folder is, right? Yes, you do. So it's whatever you will name it. I don't care whether it's delete-user.php or delete.php or whatever your language is. Whatever it's fine with you, use it. Then make sure you add it to your root folder. And okay, I don't need to get into that. If you run into problems trying to do this, just let me know in the comment section below, and I could help you you get your way around it. So once that is done, make sure you know this name, because it's very important to the next step that we just want to do. Okay, so how do we use our code to work with the stuff that we want to do here? Now let me just demonstrate one. Let us delete Joel. Let's delete Joel. Let's just delete Joel. So I will hit the that, and I did this on purpose so that if you click the delete button by mistake, you don't just go ahead and delete the user. It can be chaotic as well. So it's always a good practice to just ask the user, are you sure you want to delete this user? Now, I avoided to use, JavaScript for the browser pop-up thing and all that, just to make sure that this process is smooth. It's smooth. So once you hit on the delete button, you will get to this screen. So it will just ask you whether you want to delete this guy or not. Then I added a redirect. Once we delete the user, we are redirected back to the list of the users or whatever it is. So let us delete this guy, Joel Morgan. So Joel is gone. If we check our list here, you can see Joel is gone. Let's also delete Junior. So hit that, then delete, and Junior is also gone. Okay, so how is this thing working? So let us start with the template. So let me just go back to that, and let me check from my profile builder what I'm using to delete the user. What's the template? It's delete stuff. Okay, awesome. So also note something very important here is we are using the user page here for the template that deletes the user, because again, we are not deleting ourselves, but we are deleting another user. So it's important to have access to the user. I hope that's clear. Then you will also note that I have not defined any page visibility or roles here on purpose, because I just want this to be, but it's basically the administrator that should have the capability of doing this. So feel free to do that. So I just left it blank on purpose. So it's delete user. Let me just get that. Delete stuff. This is the template. So the first step that you want to do is to create the template that actually deletes the user. Then you will have to create a button that it will be used to initiate the deletion process. Then once that is done, you can put the things together. Okay, so again, I'm not going to take you through these dynamic things, these dynamic fields stuff. I will just get straight into what we want to do here. So this, as I said, it's a template and it's accessed through the single user page. So what happens is when you hit on the delete button, there are a few things that happens, but let me just show you something here. So this is the delete stuff button, and how does it work? This is now where JetEngine comes in handy. So the first thing you will put in your button. Let me just do it practically so that you guys see it. So let me just grab a button like that. Let me just put it down here. There we go. Let me just center it. Let me put it there. Then so what are we gonna do with this button? So we will use the dynamic tags here. We'll use the dynamic tags just as what we have with this button here, that it's the main button. So from the dynamic tags, you will scroll down to JetEngine and look for user field. Get the user field. Then we want to do some very important things here. Number one, it's what are we doing here? we are selecting the ID. Let me just get it. We are getting the ID because when we go back to our code here, you will notice that we check if a user ID is provided, and that's basically what we are trying to do here with this stuff. So we get the ID. Then what's the context? This is very important. This is very important. Very, very important. Okay? So it's very important for you to understand that the context matters when it comes to deciding who to delete. So we'll stick with the current user for current scope. Current user for current scope, because remember, when you hit on this button here that I will just be showing you in a short while, this one here, this button, when you hit on it, what it does, it's actually a delete button, but it does not go ahead to delete the user there and then. It just takes you to the user. So this, in other words, this is the current user. It's the current user. I will just let me get that. Let me get what we have in the URL so that you can see what I'm trying to tell you. And I will just paste it down here in let me use a text field. Let me just put it here, and let me show you what we have when somebody visits this stuff. Let me center it so that so it's profile. So yuan is the user. Then delete stuff. This is the template or the page that we have here, that we have here, delete stuff. So this is the URL. As I told you, this slug, it's what you see in the URL, which it's here, delete stuff. Then yuan is the user. And why are you seeing yuan? It's because in my profile builder settings here, I have said user page rewrite, we are using the username, not user ID, but the username. If I chose user ID, then we'll be seeing the user ID in this slug here. Instead of the username, we could be seeing the user ID. And then profile is simply the page here, the single user page, profile. Okay, profile. And this page, it's a native, a normal page that you create as other pages in your WordPress. So you can see these are a list of pages that I have in my website. So it's profile. So that's the page. So that's the structure of the URL here. So it's the page, which is profile. Then the user, yuan, username. Then delete stuff. This is the template. The template. This current template. So this is how it is. And that's basically what we are doing here with this button. Okay. So we are getting the ID, the current user for the current scope, which is this, this is the current scope. So this current user. I hope that's clear. So that's the first part. And I will also show you how that URL looks like for deleting user just in a short while, and which it's what we are going to do next. So once we grab the ID and the context, we go to the advanced. Then now what do we have before? What are we going to put here before? And this is just now the URL. Okay, the URL with our do you remember we had, okay, let me just copy this and show you. Do you remember we created this thing and we went ahead and named it delete-user user.php. This is basically what now we want to put into use. That's why I told you, make sure you remember the name that you use or have it somewhere that you can just see it. So I will also add it down here just to show you how it is. Okay, so this is what we have. So this is what we have here in the, let me show you here in the advanced. So this is what we put before. So before we put this, so it's your domain, your URL. So whatever your website is, that's the domain. Then delete user.php. So delete user.php is our code here that we started with. So it's this guy here, delete user.php. So we are basically calling that stuff to do its thing. Then question mark ID equals, so ID equals sign, we are simply grabbing it from the field here. So it will get the ID for the current user, for the current scope. It will add it here. Then that could be, actually that could be all that you want to do if you want to stop there. So let me just get this for the purpose of demonstration. Copy that and range advanced. So that is before, that's what we put there. Then after, so what do we have after? And what we're gonna have after here is just a redirection. So what happens once the user has been deleted? You could decide to let them stay on this page, but it doesn't make sense, because if you delete this user, then this will give you a 404 because it will not be available. So the best practice is to redirect them back to the list of the users, or you could create another page or another template just to let them know that the user has been successfully deleted. But it makes sense, because if they are redirected back to the list of the users, then they will just see that the user that was on this list has disappeared. That is enough to tell them that that user has been deleted. Okay, so let me go back here. So what now we add here is the redirection. Let me just bring the URL as well. Okay, so this will now create a complete, a complete URL for this thing. So it will be yourdomain.com delete -user.php ID, as I've demonstrated to you, then and redirect to. So you put here the correct URL that you want the user to be redirected to. That is that's all on you to decide where you want to redirect the users to. So at the end of the day, so this thing will be something like this. Let me just copy that like that and put it here. Then let me just, so for instance, let us pretend that our user ID is 23. So this is how the complete thing will look like. So it's yourdomain.com delete user.php ID. So this will be pulled or grabbed dynamically using this thing here that we just ID. So the ID that will be captured here, it's what will be inserted here, and that's the user that will be deleted. That's current user for current scope. And then once the user has been deleted, the user will be the person doing the action will be redirected to the page that you will define there. And that is it's exactly the things that we have here. Maybe I didn't mention that redirect part. Now if you fail to put that option, Then we have the default, which is the home page. But I'm pretty sure you do not want users to be redirected to the home page. So make sure to define where exactly you want them to be redirected after they delete the user. So that is how this thing works. I hope I have explained it in detail. So that is what we have here. Make sure you use your domains here, please, and follow closely, step by step, on each and everything that we've just explained here today. So that is what we have here, and that's how it works. So back to our profile builder section. So user page, then we have delete stuff. So this is the delete stuff that we defined the thing here. Now I just want to show you the last thing, then it's a wrap. I will just get rid of all these things. So if you guys have any questions about anything, if something maybe you didn't get it clearly, let me know in the comment section below. Then I will get to you and try to help you solve whatever it is that you will be looking to solve. Also, if you need detailed videos for getting these other stuff done, let me know as well. So maybe the last thing is, you might be wondering how this works. Actually, we will also go ahead and delete the user that we just added, so that you guys can see it clearly. So maybe you are wondering how I added this. This is just something that I have here. I will show you. So you go to JetEngine, and I will go to listings, because I'm using listings inside data dynamic tables. Listings inside dynamic tables. Let me just check the table first. So I will, okay, let me go to tables builder. I need to know which stuff. Then it's staff members. I will not show you much of this thing. You could use different ways. For me, I'm using this dynamic table. So the action here, it's a template, which is staff. Okay, that's what I wanted to see, which is this here. I just want to show you stuff. So the context of this template, just a moment. Okay, again, I'm not teaching you how to create listings, please, because that will be interfering with the main purpose of the video. But this is the listing, and if you come to the listing settings here, it's users. So that's the most important thing that you need to note. So it's users, and these are just this is an icon. That's what I'm using. It's an icon. Then the link down here, it's dynamic. So I'm using dynamic options. Then okay, let me just demonstrate. Let me do that so that it's easier for you to see what's happening. Let me bring in an icon like that. Okay, then now the link, it's dynamic tag. Then I'm going to JetEngine, and I'm grabbing the profile page URL. So the delete button, I want, when this delete button has been clicked, the user is taken to our delete stuff profile page, which, if I go back to the profile page builder, I mean the user profile builder, and the user page, it's here, delete stuff, which it's this one here, delete stuff. So back to our thing, it's from the many that I have. Remember, this is the single user page. It's single user page, then it's delete stuff, then what's the context? It remains the queried user. It's queried user because this is a list of users. Then we hit on one of them, which we simply query one of the users. So it's queried user. That's the context, and it's very important. And that's basically how that works, how this delete button works. So once it's been hit, it goes to this queried user, and you do what you want to do. So that's that. Then it's the same thing with this again, the edit icon. It's the same thing, similar process. It's profile page builder, so it's stuff, and it's queried user, and this is a listing. So it's a listing inside a data table, dynamic data table. So that's how I did that. So let's delete Macdo, and I think let me just log her out from here first, like that. Then I will be free to also delete her, and that will be the end of our tutorial. And she's gone. Okay, thank you for your time. Let me know if you have any questions, concerns, or anything that you might need my help with, and I will be glad to be of help to you. Till that point, I will see you on the next one. Thank you. Thank you for your time.